Making money in the media industry can be hard. Audiences are fickle, the gatekeepers of media platforms are fickle, social media algorithms are opaque and glitchy, so the only easy way to be successful is to just get lucky, or to find the most predictable market and go all in on that. When I was a kid, I was taught that markets were fundamentally democratic. If most people wanted something, they'd buy it, and producers would produce the things that people wanted, and they'd produce the most of what the most people wanted. But when I was a teenager, I saw that the media that was most robustly funded and which got the most promotion was all stuff that most people seemed to dislike, and I asked myself, what's happening here? What was happening was that it's not actually always the most profitable to give the majority what they want. It's often hard to tell what the majority want, especially when it comes to their taste in media. However, if you can find a market, even if it's a relatively tiny one, which consistently spends its money on the same thing and is not picky as long as you satisfy some very predictable criteria, then risk-averse businesses will focus on it like a laser. One such market is people whom the psychologist Bob Altemeyer calls right-wing authoritarians. These folks, to put it frankly, love it when you pander to them. If you tell these folks what they want to hear, they will dump absurd amounts of money into your Patreon account. This is especially the case if you are a member of a demographic that is typically not Christian conservative. If you're black, gay, trans, Muslim, etc., and you are willing to tell conservatives that they are either not really bigots, or better yet, that their bigotry is justified, you can write your own check. It's so absurdly easy that it doesn't matter how much of a scumbag you are, how incompetent you are, or even how much of a transparent panderer you are. As Bob Altemeyer says in his book, The Authoritarians, you've got to feel some sympathy for authoritarian followers at this point, don't you? Because they get nailed coming and going. First of all, they rely on the authorities in their lives to provide their opinions. Usually they don't care much what the evidence or the logic for a position is, so they run a considerable chance of being wrong. Then, once they have their ideas, someone who comes along and says what authoritarian followers want to hear becomes trustworthy. High RWAs, that is, people with highly right-wing authoritarian personalities, largely ignore the reasons why someone might have ulterior motives for saying what they want to hear. It's enough for them that another person indicates they are right. Welcome to the in-group. Dr. Altemeyer also says that the authoritarian follower makes himself vulnerable to malevolent manipulation by checking out critical thinking and prudence as the price for maintaining his beliefs. He's an easy mark, custom built to be snookered. And the very last thing an authoritarian leader wants is for his followers to start using their heads, to start thinking critically and independently about things. At the end of the day, all right-wing authoritarians care about hearing is that they are right and their enemies are bad. They will promote you if you satisfy their desire to spite their enemies.
Okay, so you're now not an opponent of Trump?
No, I'm a supporter of him.
You're actually a supporter of Trump?
Oh, yeah.
And why is that?
Because he drives the left crazy.
Okay.
He drives left-wing activists insane, and he makes them look ridiculous, and I think it's amazing.
Candace Owens is someone who has made quite a name for herself by taking advantage of this proclivity that many conservatives have. She first got media attention when she was in high school and some buddies of the son of the mayor of her town were caught sending her threatening phone calls. She sued over it and won. She was involved with a website that was critical of right-wing politicians for a while, then tried to make a website called Social Autopsy, on which people could report others who have harassed them online. This was widely criticized as something that could be considered a doxing website. When that venture imploded, she decided to pivot from exposing bigots to supporting them. She tried to start a movement she calls Blexit, meaning an exodus of black folks from the Democratic Party. She's one of the folks who buys into the lie that the Southern strategy, an attempt by Republicans to court the support of Southern racists, never happened. She will apparently agree with anything, no matter how absurd, as long as it affirms conservative prejudices.
Because I think that is one of the scariest things in the entire world, to know that your life is at risk because you're trying to talk about issues that are super important.
I worry about you as well, to be honest.
Yeah, people tell me that all the time.
Because the left are more violent than even ISIS.
I know.
That was Imam Tawhidi, another guy who came to understand how much the right will fawn over you if you are a minority who is willing to side with them. CreationistCat did a great video about how Milo Yiannopoulos, a gay conservative commentator who dismisses accusations of racism by pointing out that his husband is black, used to write articles about people being mean on the internet and then switched to doing everything he once derided when he discovered that was more profitable.
I care about facts. I don't care about your feelings.
Ah yes, Milo Yiannopoulos, ever the intrepid crusader against the easily butthurt. Now, just what do you suppose that Mr. I don't care about your Fifi said in response to this steaming hunk of cocktastic SJW crap right here, titled "The Internet is Turning Us into Sociopaths," in which this very special snowflake of a writer says that social media is encouraging us to write unspeakable things to human beings, that it's as if our moral safeguards are being broken down by a terrifying new online landscape. And get this, it's as if we've all forgotten that there's a real person on the other end, reading and being hurt by our vitriol. And if you can freaking believe it, this guy even likened tweets to drive-by shootings and said that existing hate speech laws are inadequate for the social media era. So now what do you suppose that Milo said to this regressive anti-free speech beta male fart face? Well, nothing, because Milo's the one that wrote it.
And then there's Dave Rubin. Once a host on the Young Turks, he started his own talk show on which he now platforms all varieties of xenophobes and even homophobes. Here's how Tommy Sotomayor, one of his guests, reacted upon finding out that Dave is gay.
Steven said, they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband? I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why did y'all tell me before I went on his show? Oh, Steven, why would you send me this? Oh my God, Steven, you've ruined my day.
Timbah.On.Toast has a wonderful, long, 3-part series about how Dave Rubin seemed at first to want to have real conversations with people, then discovered that carrying water for conservatives was a lot more lucrative. Some folks are convinced that Jordan Peterson is a grifter. He certainly makes a ridiculous amount of money telling conservatives and classical liberals what they want to hear, and takes every opportunity to make even more. But I would say that a grifter is someone who does that while either knowing that the things they say are false, or not really caring whether they are true or false. I suspect that this is true of Candace Owens, Dave Rubin, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Imam Tawhidi, but Peterson seems to me like he really believes in the nonsense he spouts. Another person who is often platformed by conservative media is Blaire White. They love her because she's a trans woman and a Trump supporter. She's another person who, I suspect, is not consciously grifting and pandering to the right. She certainly benefits from telling conservatives what they want to hear, but the reason I don't think she's deliberately exploiting them is because she often calls out other grifters for doing that.
The other people that people see as my peers, people that I've worked with, other commentators, kind of want to be careful with what I even say here, but I moved to LA almost a year ago, and one thing about LA is there's a lot of work here, so a lot of other political commentators, other people who you guys know, I'm not talking about obscure people here, a lot of them either live in LA or they're constantly in and out for work, filming something, doing whatever they do. So I've met almost all of them. People I've either been on their show or on a show with them, or I went to a dinner with them, an event with them, or I became close with some of them. The amount of them that I've met that have told me either directly or in a roundabout way that's very clear that they don't believe everything that they say that they believe when they're on camera. A lot of them just flat out don't believe. They're just actors. They're just actors. I don't know how else to put it. I had one person who I went on their show and I was in the green room, which is like the makeup room before you go on camera. The host of the show comes in and it's like, hey Blaire, you know, small talk. Hey Blaire, wanted you on for a while. So glad you're here. Nice to meet you. Let's take a picture, blah, blah, blah. They pull me aside and say, I just want you to know, Blaire, I don't feel any negative way towards you or trans people. I know we talk negatively of trans people a lot on the show, but that's just because it's kind of what the fans want. But it's just kind of where we're at right now. And I was taken aback because I felt like that's really fraudulent that you would feel the need to go on air and say something negative about trans people or transgenderism or whatever, but it's not really how you feel. He also said he has like a trans cousin or something like that, and that he feels bad that they're the butt of every joke on his show or whatever. And I was like, but almost every person I met after him was almost always consistently like that.
I suspect that some folks are so committed to just hearing people voice agreement with them that even if those people were to say that they don't really believe in the opinions they express, they would still support those people. They care about being told that they're right more than they care about truth or even making sense. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.